Welcome to the Honest Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jody King. As an artist for 20 years, instructor, speaker, author, and fellow rebel, I've worked with thousands of people around the world, from beginners to established artists, helping them create their strongest art and build a career doing what they love. So if you are ready to have a little fun while you learn about art, creativity, building a thriving art business, and living a bold, audacious life, you are in the right place. Also, if you're considering going pro in your art business, grab the PDF in the show notes on the 5 things they don't teach you in art school. All right, let's get messy. Hello and welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I'm Jody King, and this is a real treat for me personally today, because in today's episode, my special guest is the one, the only, Dawn Barton, and she is my sister, and she's a total badass. You are going to love her. So welcome, Dawn.
You're not in any way prejudiced, are you?
Not at all.
Not at all. I'm so excited to do this.
Me too. So before we got on here, Dawn and I were both saying that we were just a little nervous to do this because we love each other so much. We have such natural banter, and yet this is such a formal sort of thing to do. But
We
it'll be
are the
fun.
funniest two people we know when together. I mean, there should be stages and potentially, recorded because the content is so good. But now that it's recorded, it just feels so nerve-wracking.
I know. It's all going to be fine. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. There is actually a reason that you're here. I mean, I know we talk to each other all the time, but the reason I wanted you guys to know and love and learn about Dawn is because she is a best-selling, award-winning author, and she's just come out with her second book called My Midlife. Well, it's not my, right? Midlife Battle Cry.
It was originally my Midlife Battle Cry, and they dropped the my. So there you go.
Okay, I
Your
was like,
gut was right on.
yeah. Well, I feel like it is my midlife battle cry, because when I was reading it, I was like, this is so my story. And I think so many of our listeners' story, especially as women. So can you tell everyone, uh, first of all, your first book, yeah, like we said, it was a bestseller, award-winning author. Um, what made you want to write this book?
Well, I don't know that I've ever actually wanted to write at any particular day in my life. I am not a natural writer. I don't make lists. I don't journal. It's something I definitely have to continually work at. It's a skill that I work at. My editor once told me, "You're an author, not a writer. A writer finds joy out of the written word. You do not." I do not. Um, and the first book came about. I had a 30-year career in sales and marketing, successful career, and I fully acknowledge I sound cuckoo cuckoo when I say this part of the story, but I had a dream. God called me to write a book, and that next day I Googled, how do you write a book? Um,
That's funny, because God usually just calls me to go to the bathroom
yeah,
in the middle of the night.
he's
I
been
get
calling me
called.
to do that a lot.
You get called to write a book. I get called to go to the bathroom.
But it was a calling to take a massive leap of faith, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I truly did. I did know that I was being called to it. I left everything that I knew. Everyone thought I was insane. Took this leap of faith to write, but I was smart enough to invest and to find people that were experts in the area, right? I took courses, I went to conferences, I joined masterminds, I did the whole thing to fine tune this skill of writing. I mean, if I'm going to be called into it, he didn't unfortunately give me um, a color coded spreadsheet, which is what I actually needed of the next steps. But I feel like the calling was just to take the next step. And so I was proactive the whole way. And then it came out and it became a bestseller. It was this great story. But then I went into this, like, let's call it a midlife crisis. I was in between it coming out and being done, had a huge pity party, which I might be the single greatest person for throwing pity parties. No one throws them better. No
I
one
don't
ever
know.
attends. I don't know. No one attends my pity parties, unfortunately, which is a darn tootin' shame. But, had a pity party. I felt forgotten. I felt invisible. I felt like I was too old. I felt like the old, racehorse that had been put out to pasture. And, I started talking to my friends, and it's not a feeling, you too, it's not a feeling that was unique to me. And I started to fight my way through it, and from it birthed the book, Midlife Battle Cry. So that's a long answer to your question.
You talked about how you just had this calling that you felt a little bit forgotten, like what do I do now? And I feel like there's so many, like you said, so many women out there, and especially, a lot of my audience are artists, and a lot of them are women, and I would say like 75% of them are women who just also at this point in our life, it's like, I don't know if it's because we have a little more mental space because our kids are older,
Mhm,
and because a lot of those things we checked a lot of things off the list, but we have this capacity now, or almost this craving to create and to give back. And for us, it's artists who are painting. For you, it's writing. I mean, I
mhm.
know you're an author, but that technically makes you an artist. So when you were talking about doing this, I'm thinking about the women out there and the artists out there that are thinking, well, who am I to start this at this point in my life? Did that ever happen for you? About who are you to eh, now start writing and doing this work?
I'm gonna flip it a little bit, and I thought, "Who am I to stop?" Meaning, if you think about things, we are literally the best we've ever been. Like, our boobs are not, and this upper part of the arm is for sure not, but I don't know what that is. You don't really have this. I had this. I don't know what that is
For those
either.
of you that can't,
On
they're listening to this on audio. She's talking about that little thing
that
underneath your
reverberating neck
chin.
thing. Yeah. But, I started thinking about more experiences than this is literally the best we've ever been. We've learned more, we've loved more, we've failed and gotten back up more. We've done all the things which thereby makes us the best we've ever been. So why on earth would this be the time that we would pull back? And we do. We naturally, for some reason, be it society or whatever, we start to pull back. And when we have the most to say and the most to create and the most to give back, we pull back and we hand the microphone over to a 20 some odd year old who doesn't even know like what a chin hair is. This is just not our time. So I just started thinking about, if I have the most to give that I've ever had to give, why pull back now? And I didn't, it was the beginning of a conversation and I didn't necessarily have the answer, but I knew just mathematically I've done more than ever before. Why would I ever pull back? So I think that it's about, you're not called to live half your life and stop. It's just not, it's not the way of the world. God doesn't say, "Thanks so much for coming. Here's your ticket. We'll call you when your time's up. Sit over there and watch some Netflix." It's just not, we are meant to go full out to the very end of our days. So be that our creativity, our giving back, whatever it is, just go. Just do the thing now, right?
Oh my God. Yes. I feel like I just want
Yes.
to bang the drums on this
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes.
Because as you know, I had a really pivotal, horrible event, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad divorce. I don't know any of them that are not, honestly, but this happened at 50. And at 50, I was like, oh, snap. Um, I've just spent more than a decade out of the workforce, giving back for sure to my family, but now it's time for me to have my own go time. What do I want? What do I
Mm,
want to do? Right.
mhm,
And then I pulled on all of the resources that I had for years. My entrepreneurial experience, and for sure, I'd been an artist for so long. And so I knew it was going to be around being an artist,
mhm,
but I didn't quite like, I knew I needed to do it, and there is something also kind of magical about being this age and feeling like time's up. Like, Brene Brown says it so good. I don't know if you've heard her say this, but she says something happens to women in their midlife where the universe takes us by the shoulders, looks us dead in the eye, and says, I'm not fucking around anymore.
Right.
Like, it's now, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. And so to me, Midlife Battle Cry is the way you speak to it and you empower us as women to don't stop, put your
Yeah.
foot on the pedal.
Yeah. Well, and I think even before we put our foot on the pedal, there is a little bit of I acknowledge, and I think we're supposed to dive in a little bit deeper and kind of figure out who we be because and you've heard me talk about it before. I had to start with like, what's my favorite color? As stupid as that sounds, I was so out of touch of with who Don Barton was, just figuring that out. And I remember wanting to paint, like starting to do. I was just this need to find who I was, and a lot of that was from creative pieces in life. And
I love
yeah,
that you talk about that in the book. You talk about um, like a simple thing of
hmm
walking into your closet and looking at everything there and going, wait, when did
what?
what is it? You talked about it, like uh, from the Adams Family. What, Morticia? I think you
Yeah,
said. You're
you
like,
did.
when did I become Morticia?
It looked like a page out of Sophie's Choice, it's just like black, gray, taupe, and white, and I love color, like, the color you have on right now is literally this coral color. It's my favorite color in the world, and I just thought, "What happened? Where was the day where you decided that you wanted to dress in a way that you hid a little bit more instead of standing out a little bit more?" And
Hmm.
I just thought, "No more. No, I'm done. No more." Yeah.
Yeah,
There's this empowerment of crossing the line of like, hail to the no, HAIL, hail to the no. No more. I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna redesign and um I'm just gonna become the woman who I truly am. Not even for anybody else, not for kids, not for husband, not for jobs or anything, but who I want to be.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, can I go back to something you touched on just a
Yeah.
few minutes ago? You said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I better figure out what the hell I'm doing. You may not have said hell, but I better figure out
I
what the heck. We're a little different. I promise not to cuss
you
on
did say
Dawn.
the F word. You did.
Dawn tolerates my sailor mouth. But anyway, you touched on how, if I'm going to do this, I better figure out what I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like so many artists are as well. Um, I better figure out what I'm doing, which is, what we're doing right now. I have Studio Elite, which is my highest touch program, most intimate program where I help artists. I walk them through in a more intimate way how they can take this passion that they have and turn it into a thriving business. You did something similar,
Mhm.
like what you were talking about. Can you talk about a little bit about what you did again?
Well, I think that I don't know, for one reason or another, and women tell themselves the story that we aren't deserving of the ultimate of something, right? That we don't. Um, I remember, I think it was my age. Thank goodness at this stage in life that just said, no, you actually invest in the things, right? Because I really was. I remember the days where I wouldn't invest. And therefore, I took so much longer to get to the end result. I mean, literally, like I'll never forget, I added probably a year onto my career for this one thing I didn't do. And so I guess I'm old enough now that I've just learned the lessons. Like, I'm worth the investment, and I'm worth chasing it, and that's how I felt. I'm worth chasing it. A part of me was like, for a moment, I'm not gonna lie, there was a little bit of ego there. There was like, I'll figure this out. I got this. How hard can it be?" And I needed the experts to tell me, "Hey, Dawn, like you begin writing in first person, then you go to third person." Like, oh. Okay. Okay, so that's like bad, right? Or like you begin talking about something and you never come back to it. And again, I was like, oh, so you're not reading my mind, right? Okay. And just having, like just the incredible women around me, to guide me and to teach me, but the willingness for the first time in my life, I was willing. So I think that's why it went so much better. I knew to fight for it. I knew to go for it. I knew to do the things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I completely agree, and I see the results. I see it in my own life when I have invested in myself,
mhm.
and, I was thinking the first time I did this, I invested in a program, and, I mean, it was high ticket, like, high ticket.
I remember. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Why are you doing that?" Look at you
I
now.
I know. I could hear you. You didn't say it, but you're like, "Dumbass." But
Yeah. Are you sure I didn't say it? Because I feel like I probably could said it.
I think you may have said it.
Yeah.
But it was go time. I like
You didn't have the
I
margin
didn't
to
have
yeah,
the time.
yeah,
I had a very short window where I needed to make this
mhm,
work, and I swiped that credit card with my hand shaking.
yeah,
And that year alone, uh, I increased my revenue over $250,000. Now, I'm
yeah,
not saying that every person does that, but I feel like the people that do the most are the
yeah,
ones that have not a lot of choice and also just feel like it is like they are so committed to it. And I saw you do that. I saw you with your commitment to your first book
mhm,
and the people you surrounded yourselves with. Um, and then, and I've seen you doing what you're doing now with this book, which is it's just going so well. I can't wait for everybody go get Midlife Battle Cry, especially if you're a woman that's like, what now, and what do I have to offer? Do that. But can I just read a quote that you from your book real quick?
only
Um,
if it's really good and profound. Yeah.
is any isn't it all really good and profound?
You can just pick any line, yeah, it's just all so good.
But you were talking about how you were a little surprised that it was it was so successful, right? That the results of your book were. And you said one of the most unexpected revelations I had during that journey was that this didn't happen despite my age. It happened because of my age. And
Right.
I'm going to be the double nickel soon, 55. Actually, when
Yeah,
this podcast comes out, I will have already turned 55. And
that is so old. Wow,
you just
gosh.
wait.
I hate that for you.
Oh my god.
Ah,
So that line really spoke to me. And in fact, it spoke to me so much that I feel like I just need to write it on a Post-it note and stick it on my mirror, because self-doubt is so much a part of it, continues to be part of my journey. What is it that you would say to any woman, any person really, that is struggling with fear and self doubt and the who am I to do this? Because
mm.
I know that that had to have happened for you, especially
No,
when you
that's
told
never
people.
personally happened for me, but, again, I hate that for you. I don't know a single woman who does not exist on a continual basis of self-doubt. It is how we are wired. We are wired to feel. We are wired emotionally. And unfortunately, this self-doubt is something that plagues all of us. And certainly as we get older. But what's really great about it is that we also gain a whole lot of wisdom as we get older. Um, to combat that a little bit more. It makes us be better at the things that we're jumping into in the season of our life. I talked about, I think that in our minds, we have this invisible line, and to the left of it are all of the great things in our lives. So it's all the blessings that have happened. It's our kids, it's our careers, it's all the things we've done, right? And we cannot wrap our heads around the fact that on the opposite side of the line, it would be equally full of miracles and blessings and all of the greatness, right? But the reality is, it is. It 100% is. And if you live life in such a way that it's stopping on fear, oh my gosh. how sad would that be, right? How sad that all of the great gifts that would be I don't think we get all of our gifts like, "Here's you're 21 to go ahead and open all those little puppies up, sis," at all. I didn't figure out that I was that not only did I love it, but I was actually pretty darn good at speaking until I was in my 40s. I didn't publish my first book till I was in my 50s. And actually, for this podcast, I went and I started Googling, famous artists and ages, and I will tell you that the majority are all after 40, not before 40. So, how sad, how heartbreaking to think we would stop because of fear. I say a really brilliant line in the book somewhere that sounds something like, how it must, how sad it is that we would sacrifice our dreams on the altar of our fears.
Mhm.
It's said much better in there because it got edited and some, people added great things to it. But, because that's the way it goes. But it just breaks my heart that at this point, like run the race, go full out, do the thing for the love of Pete, do the stinking thing,
Right.
and you have all that it takes. You may not have everything it takes to go to the finish line today, but you certainly have what it takes to do the next step. I didn't know how to take a book full process, but I did know how to put a pen to paper, and I wasn't called to know the exact step of what would happen month after month, with agents and publishers and all that kind of stuff, but I knew to write. So, for those in your audience, create, like do the thing, do the next step that you have control over and take leaps of faith continually, not like one time. Like keep doing it and push yourself and push yourself and push yourself.
Oh, I
Sorry.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Preach, preach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like start, just start. One
Mhm.
thing that people say to me all the time is, how do I'm just so afraid of putting myself out there. I'm so afraid
Mm.
of putting my art out there. I'm so afraid of putting because it's like your um this book is very personal. Your first book, Laughing Through the Ugly Cry, was very personal. I mean, you really turned yourself inside out for both of them.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm like, you're such an artist. You're such an
Yeah.
artist. And you have to, I feel like, in order to make your best work, I
Right.
say, in the most powerful work, I call it honest art. That's what you have done with both of your books. I'm claiming this one as a bestseller also because I know when people get this in their hands, they're going to want to give it to their friends, their sisters, to encourage them to not, just to embrace this season of their life as the best yet. Do you know, at the time of this recording, the Oscars had just taken place. So not, a few weeks ago, the Oscars, and all of the women that won Oscars were in, I would say, want to say over 50. It might be in the 40s, but it was
Over
this,
41.
yeah, this season of life. So it's like it is go time in a way that it's like it's never been before. But you, in your book, you talk about how, like you just said, it's like we believe there's this piece of paper and this invisible, or this line in the middle of it. And everything that happens on the left side of that line is before 50, or before
Yeah.
midlife, right? And we think, oh, that's where all the good stuff is. And then we may have one or two cool things that happen
Yeah.
after that line, right? And that's just
Maybe. Yeah.
such bullshit. Really, the best season of my life is right now.
I remember, I wanna tell your audience because I think this is really important. On the day of mediation for your divorce, I was there, and we were at a hotel, and you had on a pair of white jeans, and your butt looked amazing. So I think that's really important to say that even though the day was bad, your body was not. Um, I think the world needed to know that. But
You know what?
also,
I start
uh,
my book. My book is started that day with you,
it is.
and I did not put that story in there because I'm just
You're
learning
welcome.
that for the first time.
Well, there you go. Well, the edits are not done yet, sis. You can go back and add that sucker in. There you go. People asked me when writing the first book, was it really therapeutic to write? Um, and just to real quick, the first book, I've lost a child. I've been raped and the guy was caught. I've had stage 3 cancer. My husband's an alcoholic, but yet all kinds of stuff, as many people have um, difficult lives. But they said, was that so therapeutic to be able to write that? And I was like, no, it was so hard. But in order to get a great workout, I had to go to a level that was so deep and so hard to be able to deliver a very real, honest experience to the end reader. So it's the same thing with the art. You got to go, that stuff is hard to do, but the end result is beautiful when it's done.
Absolutely. It makes it so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
Dawn Barton,
Jody King.
where can people find your book, first of all?
Wherever books are sold, I'm happy to say, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, everywhere that books are sold. And if you have trouble finding it there, just go to dawnbarton.com.
Yeah, I love that. And where can they find you on social media?
Instagram, I am most active, and I actually do respond. It's me, and it's Dawn R Barton. Now, and I like to just reiterate, it's Dawn R. Like a sailor R Barton. So it's not
Dawn.
Dawn Barton. It's Dawn R Barton.
Okay, not to be confused with just the regular old Don Barton. I can't even say that.
Correct.
The regular old.
Sean Barton.
I know. See, I'm slurring because I haven't had anything to drink today.
If it makes you feel any better, when I recorded my audiobook, it took me a good triple the time because he kept saying, "You're slurring and you talk too fast." So we do that apparently naturally.
You know what it is? It's because our brains are going faster than our mouths can keep up with.
We
We can't
just
help it.
brilliant.
We're
We can't
just
help it.
brilliant. We're so brilliant.
So smart.
Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever, and you're just fabulous, and the work that you are putting out in the world is so needed and so necessary. A personal thank you for writing Midlife Battle Cry, because I so believe in this, and I've experienced it myself. And yeah, thanks so much.
Am I allowed to tell that we changed the names for the innocent for one story? Can I say?
You can tell
Do you
whatever
remember
story you want.
Do you remember what name you picked?
No.
All I'm going to say is when you read the book and you come across Candy, that's the name you picked. Candy may or may not be Jody.
Oh, for me? Oh, my name, Candy.
There's a story that legal made me change, which now I probably just negated. I'm gonna get sued, but yeah, Candy.
That's me. That's me in the book.
It's you. It wasn't legal. Didn't change it because of us. It was
Yeah. Well, I've changed a lot of names in my book. Let me tell you. A lot of the names, not to protect the innocent, but to protect the assholes.
Well, and sometimes I'm changing the name just to protect my own skin because they're going to kick my butt when they figure out I wrote it. You're right. So it's really to protect me.
Oh, the life of an artist. We got to create honest art. All right.
You have to change the name sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love you, Dawn Barton.
I love you, Jody King.
Thanks for doing this today. So everybody head on out to get Midlife Battle Cry by my sister, Dawn Barton. Thanks for listening. And just a heads up, applications are now open for the next cohort of my high-touch mastermind experience for artists called Studio Elite. It's a 6-month program that begins in the middle of July. It's limited in size as I work closely with each artist because, let's face it, every artist is unique. The program includes weekly group coaching, monthly training, one-on-one coaching, art critiques, and an incredible community of supportive artists. Plus, and this is the best part, an exclusive in-person retreat with me and my team to mastermind and grow your art biz. If you'd like to apply for the program or just to learn more, click the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there.